Hey, what is going on, everybody? So tonight we're going to be reviewing Doctor Sleep, which is the sequel to the 1980s movie The Shining, which this was based on the novel by Stephen King, but this was directed by Mike Flanagan, with a really stellar cast in Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Rose the Hat in this movie, who I gotta say is absolutely gorgeous. And not just that, but does an amazing job with this character. Love her style and everything with the character. Ewan McGregor, I just got to be honest, I'm just a tad bit biased with this guy because anything he's in, I definitely want to see it. And then another person who's growing to be a star, Jacob Tremblay. You've seen him in Room, you've seen him in Good Boys. This little boy is so versatile and it's grown up, and he's ultimately going to be at the tip of everyone's tongue come years to come because he's just growing and growing to be more and more a great actor. But there's tons of other people in this movie as well too. But so this movie, I have to say, like, typically when I see movies, I don't really try to converse with other people's to try to not be so biased or swayed by other people's reflections and reviews for the movie. I typically try to watch the movie and get to the review and really try to one shot the review with my thoughts by skimming my notes as like I have in front of me, but also trying to be very pure and genuine with my feelings about seeing the movie. So, but this movie was super interesting for me because I was a little bit perplexed about certain things. Like, I got to be super honest. The movie is 2 hours and 31 minutes. That first hour, I was like, ooh, this is not going to be it for me. This is not going to be it. For the first hour, it just wasn't anything for me. There was no... I mean, obviously, this is a horror movie. There was no horror, not much action. It just was just passing time. I wasn't feeling it the first hour. But at that hour, about 15-minute mark is when everything started turning on. Now, I'll talk a little bit about it, but the statement I'm making is that, from talking to some friends, that this movie is based on the novel, is about 90% accurate with the novel. Very, very, as one of my friends quoted, one of the most accurate movies based on the novel he's seen in a very, very long time. So I appreciate that. And I think for the fans who are fans of the novel will appreciate that as well too. So the people that was not fans of the novel, I'm here to say that, or have not read the novel, I'm here to say that for me, the first hour was really, really slow. But once they got over that hour mark, things really start picking up, and the movie ultimately becoming an enjoyable movie overall. I'll get to certain parts in a second. But this movie does follow years after the events of The Shining. Now we're following Danny Torrance, who, like I said, is played by Ewan McGregor, who is really struggling with his sobriety, and everything after the events of The Shining has really played dividends into his life. He's really been broken and struggling, and he's just tired, mentally and physically. He's just tired. But he ends up finding a young girl who has powers very similar to hers, ultimately becoming her mentor. But not just that, he has to protect her from a cult, the cult named by the True Knot, who's led by led by Rose the Hat, who's basically looking for people who has powers and willing to steal their abilities by ultimately killing them and taking their steam from them. So members of the True Knot, who I said was led by Rose the Hat, they're like a group of hippies, in other words. They're living in RVs and they're traveling from site to site because soon as they're getting this, they need people's powers to either recruit into their cult or to more or less eat to survive. So they're they're searching from all over to see and get a sense of who have the strongest magic to ultimately kill them, have them join, but ultimately steal their steam. And Dan, who, like I said, has been going through a lot in his life, has really been out of tact with his own abilities at times and almost diminished at times. But because his abilities and because Abra's abilities are connected, and Abra is super strong. She's amongst one of the strongest that they've ever felt. It's been his duty to protect her. And also, too, come to find out, like I said, he ended up becoming a mentor, which draws a lot of parallels to his own upbringing as well. So, Doc, who's Dan's nickname, is tasked to not only repair his life and keep his sobriety, which is a challenge in its own. He's now tasked to save this little girl who he's absolutely just her only. He's her only fate of surviving this cult, who's literally have marked their targets and been successful for over years. That's pretty much the premise of this movie. I'll get into a little bit more of the plot points, but the one important thing I really want to say about this movie is that I know I mentioned that there's a ton of stars in this movie, but Kyliegh Curran, who plays Abra Stone, the little girl I was referencing to, is without a doubt the most enjoyable character in this movie. She's absolutely amazing. And I feel like she commanded a lot of attention of her screen time. And I thoroughly loved her character and acting and everything about her in this. But not just that, but her abilities and seeing her be the most dominant person at times in the story was just amazing. But she had just great screen presence and a lot of confidence in her acting, as you can see it really portrayed within her character. And I without a doubt, I was talking about Jacob about how these kids are just becoming like bigger and bigger stars, and Jacob's having a very successful career as it is now. Kyliegh Curran, I think, is somebody that we're going to be seeing a lot more of, because I thoroughly enjoyed her as Abra Stone in this movie. Just absolutely amazing. Now, the next thing I want to say is that this third act was really hit the nostalgia for the people, for the fans of the movie The Shining. From the theme, some of the scenic shots that was in this movie, the views, some the settings and so forth really hit it. And the score was without a doubt a nod to The Shining 100%. Like the score period was just amazing. Very classical horror score. Like I said, 80s, late 70s, 80s style of FX, like the sound effects and just the score. Everything came together, very cohesive. It was very good. Even the heartbeat that was in the movie, very loud. And I didn't even see this movie in like IMAX or anything like that, but just the effects was just really present in this movie, and really, it really was a nod to a lot of how the old school horror films are done. Also, the final act too, for my video game fans out there too. The cinematography felt very Resident Evil-ish. I gotta say, it really did. But another thing I would say too, for the what y'all call the final act in this, was completely not in the novel. Like my friend was telling me about 90% of this movie being a complete was completely accurate to the novel. That last 10%, thus the final sequence and act, completely was completely new for the movie. But nonetheless, it just, the nostalgia and all the callbacks, even some scenes from The Shining, were all done in the movie. So you will. So in theory, for me, like I feel like you definitely need to watch the first The Shining, and if not, then at least read the books, because like you definitely will get lost, especially that first hour for me, because like as much as it was slow and I knew where it was coming from, I can imagine if it was slow, you didn't know where it came from, you didn't read any of the books or seen it, and thus it's just a lot of like what's happening right now. Also, keynote, karma is a bee. you'll see in this movie. But yes, there's just this movie just was very unique, and I think it's enjoyable. I just had a little bit of problem about the pace. I thought it was slow. But again, for somebody that's read the novel and entire and really appreciative of that, I think the entire movie comes together very good for you. But we'll see what you guys think. It comes out November 8th this week. And please in the comments let me know what your thoughts are when you see it, and we'll catch you guys for the next movie review very soon. Big gold bell.